Welcome back to another Scouting Report episode on the Believe in NFL Draft Prospects podcast. Joe DeLeone, Ryan Roberts. Today we've got two very fun safety prospects that we're going to be talking about. Christopher Smith from Georgia, Ronnie Hickman from Ohio State. Very different styles of players, which I wasn't necessarily expecting. Still going to be a fun conversation between Ryan and I. Before we get to that, though, folks, I just want to tell you about today's sponsor. The show is brought to you by BetOnline. Number one source for your sports betting needs. If you're like me over the holidays, you're a little bored, you're going to be sitting on the couch watching games, make it a little more fun, put some money down on those games. And if you're going to do that, head on over to betonline.ag, which has all the latest odds, news, and updates for your sports betting needs. Use promo code BELIEVE to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, it's promo code BLEAV for a 50% welcome bonus. Head on over to betonline.ag where the game starts. Ryan, these safeties, I don't know why. I didn't know a ton about them going in, admittedly.
Yep.
And I don't know why I was expecting them to both be very similar players, because you've had a tendency to do that with the pairings that you text me. They tend to kind of have like a similar background, but could not have been more polar opposites for who we're talking about that today, which makes it, I think, a more interesting and fun conversation. So the first one, let's start off with Christopher Smith from Georgia, who the more smaller, compact guy at 5'11", 195. He, to me, seems like he might even be lighter than 195. This might be a kid who's playing at 185, maybe a hair under 190 because of how light and small his frame is. But overall, really good athlete, really good instinctual player. There were a lot of times for him playing over the top as a true free safety that he's quick to accelerate, he's quick to explode in and out of cuts, and he, again, very reactive and is always very easy to know and figure out what is about to happen almost before it happens at times.
Yeah, I'll be very honest, Joe. I remember last year I had a buddy that told me that they really liked Christopher Smith in the 2021 season, and I watched a little bit of him, and I was just like, it's fine. He's an okay little player. But I think he really took a massive step forward this year. I mean, just for some context to just kind of put the whole, background, he's a kid that in the spring measured for scouts at 5'10" and 3/8, 188 pounds, 31 and 3/8 inch arms, which is actually pretty good arm length for his size. But the size, I think, is indicative of his play style, though, to your point, right? This is a true free safety type. He's going to work from depth a ton. I think he's a really proactive player that has good reactionary quickness. I mean, I don't know if you saw it was the Missouri game, I think, right, Joe, where he was working from depth and then he kind of angles all the way to the sideline and has a near interception. Unfortunately, Keely Ringo knocked the ball out of his hands for a would have been interception, though. But I think he's got good range on the back end. I think he's incredibly smart, good overall athletic profile. I don't know if I would say his straight line speed is exemplary, but I think his short area quickness is, and I think he gets his hips open very fluidly, quickly, and is able to diagnose at a rapid rate. So this is a true free safety type man working from depth. I think he's got a lot of upside as a pass cover safety at the next level.
Yeah, the range is what really stands out when you watch a Christopher Smith. He's able to get from sideline to sideline, but separate from, you talked about, he's not like a 4-3 guy. This isn't like a crazy, stupid athlete, but the reactiveness, the instincts, the ability to diagnose what's going on in front of him has really helped him excel and I think take an additional step forward as a prospect, which makes him really, really fun to watch. But the one thing that I'm a little bit hung up on, why I can't take him as a developmental high upside guy. I have concerns about his play strength. I have concerns about his size. I know that you were talking about the ball skills being nice, but from the games that I watched, which the two that I got the biggest glimpse from, Florida, Kentucky, I also watched part of the LSU game. I wasn't that excited by his one-on-one coverage skills. I feel like at times he doesn't have the length or the ball skills to consistently make plays on the ball at a consistent clip. There were plays against Kentucky where we know that their offensive approach is pretty stupid. It was, hey, Will, let's see how far you can throw the ball, and maybe those guys will make the catches. And those receivers got pretty good hands, some of the plays that they made in this game. But Christopher Smith was in position a number of times to make plays on the ball, which credit to his movement skills, again, his instincts, which I talked very highly of already. But once he's in position, I did not see him able to make a play to disrupt the pass, and they were plays that he could have made that led to completion. So that's where the concern comes into play for me. I think he's a good player. I think he's going to serve a role and be a starter at the next level. But at the same time, I don't think this is going to be a highly disruptive ball hawking guy that wins in every single vertical.
Let me throw out a player comp for you and see if you agree with this by your explanation.
Okay.
Rodney McLeod, who was similar size profile, 5'10", 188.
Leave host Rodney McLeod.
Yeah, man. And he was a 188, 190-pound safety, gave effort in the run game, but he was a little bit smaller. Didn't have a ton of ball production, but it was mostly because Rodney McLeod was always in the right spot. Like, they didn't test him a ton, right? And he had adequate range and adequate proactiveness on the back end. Maybe he wasn't a splashy football player, but a player that allowed the players in front of him to do a lot more because he was always in the right spot. Does that sound about right? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that description hits, but I just I don't know. I'm hung up because I don't think that he can be like a truly dominant player. I think he's going to be a guy that serves a purpose and does well again as a starter. Seems like a guy that has starter upside, but I don't think more than above average starter for me is what I'm willing to give.
That's fair. I would say this. I think that in the right role, to your point, because I agree. This is going to be a defensive coordinator is going to have a good thought process with Christopher Smith. You're not going to ask this kid to be a inbox player, come down to the line of scrimmage a ton. He's going to be a true free safety type. You need him to. I want him to be in a cover 3 heavy system where he's working to the middle of the field a ton. Like, I want him to do that, right? Because my biggest concern about him, and you mentioned a little bit, is the play strength. I don't think that that's ever going to be a strength of his because he just doesn't have a frame where I look at it and say, if you get to about 200 pounds, like, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to consistently play at that weight. It's going to take away a little bit of his flexibility, I think. So I thought that he was willing in the run game, but I just don't see a power profile to him to be a consistent tackler, a consistent force in the run game. So I think that this is a true free safety, going to be in the right spot, good range at the back end, not going to do much coming up towards the line of scrimmage other than being a wrap-up tackler at times.
That was the goofy thing for me watching him, is that he was always in position. Like, he always broke down really well to make tackles, especially against the run, but he was never able to really finish those tackles. Like, he always needed some type of assistance, some type of help. And again, it's another thing here. It's so tricky to really, not to project, but to buy into a guy that is always in the right position and gets there quickly and efficiently, but doesn't make the plays on the ball and as a tackler the way that you want him to despite that. It's such a downside for me. And if I were to grade this kid, I have him currently as a late day 2 kid. I think that somewhere late round 3, middle of round 3 is a realistic spot for Christopher Smith to go because some of those size limitations and those strength limitations. Again, probably a starter, but not much more than an above average starter is his ceiling.
Well, but I think what he does well is a role at the next level. You know, like, you see a lot of safety. I mean, how about this one, Joe? Maybe a Julian Love to a degree for the Giants, right? Like, he doesn't do anything spectacular. He's a good player, though. He's a good player. Yeah. He serves his role at a fine level. I mean, even though Julian Love has like 100 tackles this year, which is just bizarre.
I wouldn't compare those because he's actually a really good tackler. Like,
is he?
Or an underrated tackler for a safety.
Interesting.
I think so.
He was only an average tackler at Notre Dame, so I guess he's improved in that department. Well, yeah, but I mean, still, but yeah. But I mean, I think our valuation is about the same. Like, he's a day 2 player to me, but mid to late day 2 player. So we're in the right ballpark.
Yeah.
And I think that we think about him the same. You're just not as excited about the role as I am, I think. Like, I think that that's valuable, man. Like, playing that free safety that allows you to play a lot more man coverage in front of them, to be a little more aggressive up front. Like, I think that player matters maybe a little bit more than you do. I don't know. I think that's our difference.
I do, and I do believe that it is valuable, but the problem is that, yes, he's in the right position a lot of the time, and he's quick to move and react, but the times where he has to make the play, he doesn't make the play. And I don't want guys who can't make plays on my defense like that. That's the extreme thought, but I'm not excited about guys who don't make plays. Like, he's not a flashy player. He doesn't make a lot of plays for me.
He also doesn't give up any plays though. Like, he doesn't give up.
Well, he gave up those catches where I know that he's not getting killed. Like he's not going to get beat over the top for an 80-yard touchdown. He's not going to get completely beat because he's out of position or he
like
reacts improperly.
Like Ronnie Hickman, or just kidding. Sorry.
Wait, but Ronnie Hickman's different though, because Ronnie Hickman shouldn't be playing over the top because he's too damn slow to be doing it. But the thing is with Christopher Smith though is that he's there and he doesn't get beat. Is that like the threshold that we're holding safeties to? Is like, well, as long as you don't get beat, but you still give up a catch, that's fine. Like that's where I'm a little hung up on it.
Man, you're a hater. I don't know.
I have a feeling.
I think he's going to be a valuable free safety at the next level.
Okay.
Not saying Pro Bowl level, but I'm saying a good starter. Good starter at the next level.
I don't disagree.